Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Berto is your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you, and I will tell you something that is nice, Melanie. I will tell you something that is good. We are in control, whether we realize it or not. We spoke about that this morning on our KPFT show. We are in control. You know, we ended the KPFT show on Friday with Jack Van Beber talking about that box that is closing. You know, the corporate structure, the elite, they're closing the boxes on us so that we're no longer in control. But, you know, we still have a democracy. I mean, after the election, if Trump were to get elected, of course, we likely will have a difficulty reestablishing our democracy. But you know what? Let's not worry about that now because, like I said, whether we realize it or not, we are in control. So, folks, the idea is this. The people in power want you to believe, and I say this as honest as I can, the people in power want you to believe that you are powerless. They need you to believe that you are powerless. And why is it that they need that? Because ultimately, people power, the power of many, is a lot less powerful, or rather, the power of the few is a lot less powerful than the power of many. The problem is we have to not just believe it, we have to execute it. Again, we can't just believe it, we can't just say it, we have to do it. So I'm an eternal optimist because I know that if we can get our message to everybody, if we can activate everybody, that ultimately speaking, just like we had during the Red Scare back in the 1950s, just like we had when we said Red Scare, you know, the people who thought they, you know, are you a communist? Were you a member of the Communist Party? Remember all of that? We overcame that. What it takes, however, is all of us doing our part and not being scared. We had a caller named Harry. He said, "Oh, Egberto, I'm so scared. I'm so scared that Trump is going to be reelected." I'm like, so you don't get him elected. You do the work. Don't sit down around your table and twiddle your fingers. Go out there and make sure that it doesn't occur. Make sure that it doesn't occur. So let's get busy. All right, welcome aboard. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Lee Grant from Montgomery County, Texas. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas. Bridge MCP from upstate New York. We've also have in the house, para ver, I'm going up the scroll, I'm going up the AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. My mind is kind of behaving with me today. And I don't see anybody else that I need to give a shout out to yet. I'm scrolling down again to see if any new person came up. All right, let me start reading what you guys have brought us, what we brought. Egberto, guess who made my Twitch 23 recap most watched channel? Who? Kind of too bad today's a busy Monday. Again, catch you tomorrow. Sorry about that, but I made your channel the most busy channel, right? Let me go ahead and put that up there, but let's see if that's true. High scores, hours watch. Whoa, look at your achievements. Look at your achievements. 262, 4. I think I did it for you, man. I think I did it. Most watch. Let's do something here. Let's put that on the screen for Brother Rudden because he makes me feel good. Hey guys. When you have a supporter, a watcher like Michael Rudden, it seems. Look at his Twitch recap 2023. He watched our channel on Twitch 197 times. Well, 197 hours. So it's probably a little bit more than 197 times. Are we proud of that or what? Look at that right there. What does it say there? Politics done right. E. Willies, that's our channel on Twitch. Thank you, Mr. Rudnin, for giving us that honor on Twitch. Anyway, continuing. Michael Rudnin says The Hill. Senate Republicans block assault weapons ban, background check bills, New Republic. Senate Republicans don't even need a vote now to stop gun control. MSNBC, despite mass shootings, Republican reject assault weapons ban. Morning Consult, voter maintains strong bipartisan support for banning assault weapons. The bill, originally sponsored by the late Senator Dianne Feinstein, would have made it illegal to produce, transfer, or own military-style assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, rifles, and guns with military features like grenade launchers or assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, rifles and guns with like grenade launchers or folding telescope scoping or detachable stocks would have been outlawed. Egberto, I can foresee the headlines. Domestic War Crimes Edition, XM25 and XM29 coming to your schoolyard near you. There are several other common features of guns and rifles that would have been included in the ban that made no sense, but Republicans wouldn't even bring these up for a vote to modify the bill so it restricts features that are rightfully seen as ridiculous by the American public. I swear, the next time we have a mass shooting that involves a grenade launcher, we as a nation might have an epiphany. I don't know if that will be enough to bring an epiphany because the country is already there. The politicians aren't. What we have to make the country realize is they control the politicians, and if the politicians continue to hold water for the gun lobby, then it is imperative that we take that politician and take them out of commission. I repeat, it is then imperative on us to take those politicians out of commissions. And it looks like our one of our demons didn't run to let people know the show was on. Anyway, we'll check that out when I play the next video. All right, Bridge MCP puts out here, Special Counsel Jack Smith asked the Supreme Court to rule quickly on whether Trump can be prosecuted. Smith made his request for the court to act with unusual speed to prevent any delays and could push back the trial, and that could put back the trial to 2024. Republican presidential prime front runner, currently set to be on March 4th until after the next presidential election. This case presents a fundamental question at the heart of our democracy. Whether a former president is absolutely immune from federal prosecution for crimes committed while in office, or it's constitutionally protected from federal prosecution when he has been impeached but not convicted before the criminal proceeding begins. He's trying to say that a political trial is identical to a criminal trial, which it is not. And I think the Supreme Court will make that quite clear. Underscoring the urgency for prosecutors in securing a quick resolution that can push the case forward, Smith and his team wrote, it is imperative. It is of imperative public importance that respondents' claim of immunity be resolved by this court, and that respondents' trial proceed as promptly as possible. If this claim of immunity is rejected, at issue is a December 1st ruling from U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan that rejected arguments by Trump's lawyers that he was immune from federal prosecution. In her order, Chutkan wrote that the office of the president does not confer a lifelong get-out-of-jail pass. Former presidents enjoy no special conditions on their federal criminality liability. Chutkan wrote, defendant may be subject to federal investigation, indictment, prosecution, conviction, and punishment for any criminal acts undertaken while in office. A federal judge ruled the case could go forward, but Trump signaled he would ask the federal appeals court in Washington to reverse the outcome. Smith is attempting to bypass the appeals court, their usual next step in the process, and have the Supreme Court take up the matter directly. If this justice declined to step at this point, Trump's appeal would continue at the U.S. Court level of appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. Smith already has asked for a quick review there too, but he said even a rapid appellate decision might not get the Supreme Court in time for review and final words before the court traditional summer break, so he's trying to speed things up. Melanie Keelan says, happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday, Melanie Keelan. Happy Monday, happy Monday. Let me see if it seems like our demon has not gone off, so we'll have to see why. All right, what else have we got here? Eric Hayes says anti-whatever is not popular. I don't know. These days, when it makes people uncomfortable, Penn president out next is Harvard. And so, well, look, Harvard president, I don't think is going to go because, again, she has a large support from from her faculty. But I don't think any of these presidents should have resigned. We cannot let the political process infect. We cannot allow the political process to infect the schools. Yesterday, Fareed Zakaria came on TV, and I couldn't. I am usually fairly in agreement with Fareed Zakaria. But Fareed Zakaria yesterday came out against DEI, right? And no, he actually claimed that DEI has corrupted campuses because everything is looked at through the lens of DEI. I forgot inclusion and equity and inclusion, right? And I think he missed the point. Not because some universities do the wrong thing. As an example, when universities don't allow, or not universities, but when right-wing folks that are coming onto universities to give speeches get a big pushback from the crowd, from the university, I think it's wrong. When these right-wingers come into, I think you should have the protests. But also with the protests, I think that we should still let them in, let them go to the auditorium and give their speech, etc. Not because many times groups in these universities err on the side of that means that somehow DEI has been so prevalent in universities that it prevents the university to be a place of learning. Contrary to that, that's not what it does. I think Fareed Zakaria, who I really respect his intellectual nature in general, missed the boat by actually criticizing DEI. He actually bought into the Republican slime machine, where he misses the point entirely, likely because, again, he has joined the elitist status in one of the factions, which I think is problematic. I'd love to have an interview with Fareed Zakaria on that one. Anyhow, continuing, Eric Hayes says, quote of the day, why Commissioner's Court continues to play budget games against popular programs mean they really are trying to defund the police. That statement alone that you just made there prevents me from reading the rest of the commentary because it starts on a false lying premise just based on the numbers. So I don't allow reading of misinformation to our audience. Lee Grant says, congrats to John Whitmire. Hope he can make Houston a safer place to live. Houston is not an unsafe place to live at all. And that is what gets me with John Whitmire. He couldn't tell the truth about crime going down. He couldn't tell the truth that crime is fairly localized. He couldn't tell the truth that stop making crime a problem that it isn't. The murder is bad. Robbery is bad. Crimes are bad. But it's not the badness that they want to make it. If we really want to solve crime, solve the social problems, and crime gets solved. Buying into this crap from the GOP. Oh, crime rate. How many look, I could go out and get killed tomorrow somebody could shoot me tomorrow. But I fear militias more than I fear the common criminal on the streets, okay? I fear the gunman who has an AR-15 than the common thief that I can try to protect myself based on what I do. So stop falling for the misinformation because it allows us to make bad decisions. Just like listening to Israel as far as, we're going by blowing the smithereens out of Gaza, somehow that's going to eliminate Hamas. No, that's going to create something to replace Hamas that's likely worse than Hamas because you have destroyed people's lives. You have killed the families of thousands of people. Do you think that gives people a good feeling for Israel? What Netanyahu has done to Israel is the worst thing any leader of a country could do. And the bad thing about it is because the United States of America is their lead supplier and their lead supporter, and Biden has hugged on to Netanyahu, the blowback will also come to us. Mark my words, the blowback is coming. Blowback is coming. When you have asymmetrical warfare, what happens is the person at the bottom end of that asymmetry, they react themselves in asymmetrical manners. And that asymmetrical manner means that you and I get hurt. They cannot go against the military of Israel. They cannot go against the military of the United States. So you know who they go against? You and me. That is the reality. So our support of Netanyahu is putting all of us in danger. All of us in danger. All right, let's see what else we got here. Coming down. Let's see. Let's see. Eric Hayes says, what is a democratic about a sidestepping the court levels and trying to rush us through the legal system? If the Supreme Court is the ultimate law of the land, you're still using the court. You're just saying we're not going to allow the president to stall, period. That's all. The criminal that tried to overthrow our country, we can't allow it to stall. All right, Melanie, you got the notification. The other notification we send out is an email with the show and the characteristics of the show. I need to clean that email up anyway. All right, let's see what else we've got here. What else have we got here? Let's see. Mike C6 says DI has corrupted universities. It is antithetical to Title IX and other laws already on the book. If that made any sense whatsoever, then we would have a more equitable representation there. I think you may need to go check quite a few things. John wants us all to be safe and lock up the criminals. If you think the idea of being safe is locking up the criminals, that is where you play whack-a-mole. I don't want to lock up criminals. I want to prevent the creation of criminals. And my contention is that we create criminals with what we do. But again, it takes a few levels of indirection of thinking, something that Republicans have been teaching its people, even though the leaders know better, but they've been teaching their followers not to think intelligently. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's go with our first video. Our first video today is with Chris Hayes and the economy and how great the economy by the macro numbers are doing. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other, on the other side. Recently, some new economic numbers came out, and guess what? The unemployment rate fell to 3-point-something%. Utilization rate went up, and the inflation is at somewhere in the 3% area. Unheard of based on prognostication, and better, it seems like we're coming in for a soft landing. A soft landing meaning that we're probably not going to go into recession. That isn't to say that people aren't suffering, the structural nature of the United States economy based on capitalism has continuously affected most Americans, and has most Americans, even though you don't see it on TV or in the news, in dire straits. That's a statement of fact. That said, based on the comparative analysis of the economy, its recovery to other economies and recoveries, Biden is doing pretty darn good. And while much of the statements today is that the buying power of the average American citizen isn't what it was, let's say, a few years back, that is a continuum that we have been seeing from the inception of Reaganomics. So it's nothing new. It's a structural defect in our economy. Don't listen to what all these other guys are telling you. The economy is behaving as it should, and right now it is behaving just about the best it can under the restraints of the current capital structure that we're under. We need to change it, of course. But that said, Biden, compared to other presidents, should be ecstatic and happy. And Fox News knows it so well that they gave Chris Hayes the opportunity to ridicule how they interpreted all this good news that's coming in on the economy on the macro level. Check this out.
Once a month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics releases the latest jobs numbers, which means once a month, the country gets to watch the anti-Biden propaganda machine figure out how to deal with positive developments for the economy.
Talking about 140,000 more jobs added than was expected. It is amazing how the estimates, people keep getting the estimate wrong.
Well, listen, this is good news for American families, isn't it, Alfredo?
Well, it is, but it isn't.
I'm going to make the case that decline in the unemployment rate is actually a negative, not a positive.
Better than expected jobs numbers, Charles. Your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, for the 11th month in a row, right? I think the fix is in there.
Unemployment drops to 3.4.
That's the lowest since 1969.
Wow. Meanwhile, this story really pertains to our economy. This is Ford Motors missed sales expectations at the start of this year.
Dear viewer, this morning was no exception when November's jobs numbers came in even better than expected.
So we got hotter than expected numbers. Cheryl just gave us the numbers, 199,000 jobs versus an estimate of 180,000.
What do you think about these numbers?
It's a resilient labor market, and President Biden is going to talk about this at some point today because these are good numbers for Bidenomics, employment rate.
Because of Christmas? More people are working in shops?
Strangely enough, retail employment actually went down. Well,
Really?
It didn't go down.
They're seasonally adjusted. Justin Wolfers is a professor of public policy and economics at the University of Michigan, the co-host of Think Like an Economist podcast, and he joins me now. All right, Justin, you have been part of this sort of discussion debate about this economy and this sort of people's perceptions and reality. To put that aside, I want you to just describe as best you can this idea of the soft landing and why it's difficult to pull off the soft landing and where we are right now. So just what does it mean? Economists talk about this all the time, about a soft landing, and particularly a year or two ago about how improbable it was.
Right. So let's go back to what people thought the problem was. A year or two ago, about a year and a half ago, inflation was running at 9%, and the unemployment rate was all the way down at a 50-year low of 3.5%. And the thinking at the time from many economists was that one caused the other, that low unemployment, we had too much of a good thing, and that was causing inflation. So then the claim was, well, we should have a little less of a good thing, which is let's try and stop the economy enough, slam on the brakes, so that we reduce inflation. But here's the funny thing. What actually happened is inflation plummeted from 9% down to 3%. But inflation and unemployment basically moved sideways. This is actually better than anyone dreamed about with a soft landing. With a soft landing, they thought, let's get unemployment back to what we think is more sustainable. They thought 4.5% or 5%, and things will fix themselves. We got, in fact, our whole low unemployment cake. We get to eat it with lower inflation coming as well.
Yeah, you had posted this about sort of economists, sort of consensus economists polling, right? And they were asked to sort of make a bet, and their perception of where we'd be right now. I think it was a year ago, right? And the current situation with inflation where it is and unemployment, I think it was at like 10%. Like was the probability assigned? These are economists who study this being like, yeah, there's a 1 in 10 chance we could end up in this really narrow sweet spot that's going to be very, very hard to hit with inflation coming down and the economy growing and unemployment still low.
Yes. So look, one thing I want your viewers to know is sometimes good news happens. We economists are not very good at recognizing it, and sometimes we're not very good at forecasting it. And so this really is, it's a better outcome than anyone saw coming, and you don't even need to compare it to expectations. I think that sort of underdoes it. I think the reality is you want to think about the fact that unemployment is near a 50-year low and inflation's returning all the way back to normal. And we've got inequality declining at the same time. Just on its face, on its merits, these are the sorts of economic numbers that not only would I dare not dream about, but many economists thought would be impossible.
So again, I want to be clear. There is much to do to fix this economy so that it lifts all boats. But comparatively speaking, the economy has rebounded. Now we just have to make sure it applies to everybody.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely join. Anyway, folks, let's continue reading. Bridge MCP says, the left is not running scared. They're running forward. Trump is known for appeal after appeal. This is skipping it and going to the top. SCOTUS may not take it up. Trump said it was his court. We'll see if it's his court. But if they don't take it up, they show that they are in fact complicit in what. Remember, his Clarence Thomas' wife was in the White House helping Trump plan the coup of the United States of America. Let's remember that. Eric Hayes says Bidenomics is a failure. Like you guys have seen, it doesn't matter what the numbers say. Eric put something in his mind and he's like a zombie. The right wing tells me this, right wing tells me this. Bidenomics is a failure. So even though all the numbers are going up, even though wages are going up, even though inflation is something that occurs every year, irrespective of president, except when we have a deflationary state, which most of the times we don't have, none of that matters. I'm concerned about your clients, given that you're an accountant, my brother. I must think twice when numbers don't mean any, when fact-based numbers don't mean anything to you that we can actually lay it out on the table. I'm concerned about how if you can really do anybody's books objectively. But then again, you probably have great supervision. All right, let's see. Bridge MCP says it's predicted the economy, while going slow, will kick in by spring. Heck, my gas went down 20 cents in 3 days, almost to $3.50, and I'm paying $2.30-something the last time I bought gasoline, right? So, I mean, the fact of the matter is, Bridge, we know what the numbers are saying. The people that are running trying to say, oh, my God, how could this possibly happen? Electric bills of $700 or more, go blame your Texas state government for that because of their failure, to, first of all, put us on the national grid, number one, and number two, because of their failure to have charge weatherization, and number three, because they made it a market-based system. Let me tell you guys how electricity works well, it's not only in Texas, but let me just tell you how stupid electricity works, right? Here's how we do electricity. We have the generators who generate electricity. They don't sell the electricity to the public, right? They create another layer that they throw their electricity onto our Texas grid. Then they create another layer of companies who go ahead and mix and match, and this generator here, that generator here, mix and match numbers and sell you the electricity as a middleman to you. Therefore, they have to get their cut first. Patrick Baron, good afternoon, my dear brother. So I want you guys to understand this. Selling electricity would have been simple, right? Technically speaking, we have a grid, we have generators, you throw the electricity onto the line, and what we should have is, if you believe in supply and demand, etc., electricity based on the needs, right? But we have a second layer that we go through. We have 100 or so electrical resellers. You can't buy electricity directly from the producer, and you can't really create your own wind farm in your house. We have to go through these third parties. And these third parties have to do whatever machinations they are doing to make a profit. You have to ask the question, what value do they add? Nada. Niet. They extract money from you. Let me tell you how the perfect electrical system would work. Do you want to have private generators? If a private generator thinks they can do better than, let's say, a nonprofit or public generator, go generate your electricity, throw it onto the grid, and have an automated system on the grid that dispenses electricity all over. That person sitting in their office in the tower, they do nothing other than play with numbers to tell you how much you're going to pay for electricity. They do absolutely nothing. They don't generate electricity. They don't lay down pipelines. They don't lay down electrical lines. They just sit in the middle between you and the electrical generator. We don't need them. And then we have ERCOT. Why not just abolish the middleman, let ERCOT bring all the electricity in and send it all out, and let it be managed by intelligent people? Again, we do things stupidly and under the premise of capitalism. These guys offer nothing. Just like I always say, to show you how silly we are and how indoctrinated we are. We have a middle person selling you electricity that don't generate diddly squat. They do nothing but, hey, generator A, generator B, I'm going to sell it. I buy it from you and I sell it back to you. They do nothing. Just like health insurance. Health insurance says, okay, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pay the bill for you. And for paying your bill, you pay a 30% premium. It is stupid. And I don't like to use that word on air. But you think about how we have been indoctrinated into having middle people who do nothing, who produce nothing. They just make money on us buying a something. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right. Egberto, is your energy price still high? I don't have clients. If you don't have clients, you got a problem. All right, let's see what else we got. Melissa Bowie, welcome to Politics Done Right, my beautiful sister. Eric Hayes says, but why are progressive people using gas? You should be EV right now. Another silly statement from my good old brother. Bo Campbell, I haven't heard from you in a long time, Bo. How are you doing, my brother? Great to hear from you. Melissa says, spelling right makes your sentence understandable, Hayes. And let's see what else we got. Patrick Barron says, we pay $300 a month here in North Fort Myers, Florida. I hear you, buddy. Mike C-Sex says, whoa, Egberto doesn't have a clue as to how the electrical grid works. If it makes you feel empowered to believe that I don't know how the electrical grid works, please feel free to feel that way. Unfortunately, I do. And the reality is we don't need the middle person, especially in an age of computers. We just need producers, and we have an automatic distributed system. Nothing more is needed at all. If you want to have an intellectual argument with me on that, we can, Mike Cisak. But the way it is working right now, it is made for people who contribute nothing to society to make a buck. That's it. Nothing do they contribute. Patrick Barron says, our electric bill went up 50% since Meatball Ron has been in office. And not only have your electrical gone up since Meatball Ron has been in office, but your insurance went up. You can't even get homeowners insurance at a good price in Florida because of how silly he works things out. Anyway, I got one more story that I need to play the video for. In Texas, we have a beautiful 31-year-old young lady who's pregnant, but her baby has some sort of a genetic defect, which means her baby, if born, will not live. She will be born. She will gasp for air. She'll suffer and then die. So therefore, because Texas has draconian abortion laws that tells a woman what she can do with her body, that tells a woman that me, Ken Paxton, controls your womb. I can tell you what you must do with your body, because that's who we are in Texas. This woman had to take the state of Texas to court. And in taking Texas to court, judge in Travis County said, "Oh my God, I feel your pain. You could actually lose your fallopian tubes, your uterus, and not be able to bear another child. And therefore, I strike down. I consider this an exception to the Texas state law. You can go ahead and have an abortion." The criminal attorney general of Texas comes out and warns doctors. Remember, the stay order is not as long as our law. So therefore, as soon as we change, as soon as that stay order goes out, that restraint, that I think the stay or whatever it's called is over, we're coming back to charge the doctors or the hospitals. And then he goes to the Texas Supreme Court. And the Texas Supreme Court says, we're going to put this on pause. And now, last night, he was fighting it in court. I don't think there's a result on that yet. But Kate has gone out of state to have an abortion because while she would like to fight the battle in Texas, from what I understand that she left the state today to go get an abortion. But the fact that a woman's body is under control of this aged criminal is sad. Let's go ahead and play the piece from this morning. Excellent piece by Brzezinski. A passionate piece by Brzezinski this morning. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
The Texas Supreme Court is blocking an abortion for a woman whose fetus has a fatal diagnosis. Kate Cox, who is 20 weeks pregnant, was warned by her doctor and multiple doctors that if she carries this pregnancy to term, it will likely jeopardize her health and future fertility. Despite this, the Texas Attorney General asked the state Supreme Court to step in, arguing Cox does not meet the criteria for a medical exception. And believe it or not, it is 2023, not 1923. This is an unsettling and all too common story. Once again, an aging white man faces indictments, is accused of covering up an affair, faced impeachment, and still his wrecking ball use of political power continues with brutal consequences on the lives of women. Sounds familiar. I'm actually not talking about Donald Trump. This time, it's another far-right Republican who considers it a compliment to be called Trumpy. I'm talking, of course, about Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Paxton is so desperate to mimic Trump, so desperate for Trump's support that he led a lawsuit in 2020 to challenge the results of that year's election in Trump's favor. The Supreme Court, of course, quickly threw that out. That's how desperate he is. The man is so desperate to mimic Trump that he behaves in a cruel, brutal fashion and won't back down until a ill woman is physically and emotionally destroyed. That woman, Kate Cox, and her health is in danger because of Ken Paxton, who is using laws against abortion, thank you, Donald Trump, Leonard Leo, and many others, to make sure her suffering is the most it can be. We gotta wake up. We need to wake the hell up. This country has lost so much already. Women have lost so much. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, a man or a woman, please look at the face of this moment in time. Kate Cox could be your daughter, your sister, your wife, you. Kate Cox is 31 and needs an abortion. Her physical and emotional well-being is in peril. Her developing fetus has trisomy 18, a rare chromosomal disorder that's likely to cause stillbirth. That's where she gives birth to a dead baby. Or her baby will barely survive the birth and then will die shortly after. She will watch her newborn, Kate will, suffer, gasp for air, and then die. There are also other risks. That's the reason she needs an abortion, of bringing this pregnancy to term, including making it impossible for Kate to ever have a baby again, to sterilize her. Kate needs that abortion now to protect her own health, too. She's been to the ER 4 times for severe cramps, leaking fluid, and elevated vital signs, according to her lawyer. And then, of course, there is the mental anguish.
We're going through the loss of a child. There's no outcome here that I take home my healthy baby girl, so it's hard,
So why isn't this woman in the OR right now getting the life-saving health care she needs? Because the Texas Attorney General, not a doctor, not a scientist, an aging white far-right Republican male, believes he knows what should happen with Kate's body. He would prefer that she carry her non-viable fetus to term. Consequences be damned. That's Ken's choice. Ken has choices. Kate does not. Ken is choosing to block Kate's health care once again by threatening legal action against any doctor who performs Kate's life-saving abortion. Legal action against the hospital where the procedure happens. He wants to do that as well. So for Kate, a desperate mother in need of health care, the reason her body may lose its ability to have more children, the reason her young children have a sick, suffering mother, the reason her very life may be absolutely shattered and in danger is because Ken Paxton is driving home the reality that we all must face. That because Trump and his cronies were able to destroy Roe, something he loves to brag about, we have no rights to protect ourselves in a situation like this.
I think forcing me to continue the pregnancy, the pain and suffering, put me through the risks of continuing the pregnancy, the risks of childbirth again, especially given how my last 2 went. I think it's cruel.
We have no right to save ourselves from suffering. Our daughters are growing up in a world where they will be scared to get pregnant. They will fear that people like Ken Paxton will have more of a say in their healthcare decisions than their doctors. They will fear that they will suffer or even die when attempting to bring a life into this world. This isn't a fear we have about something that might happen. Let's all freak out about what might happen. No, this is where we are right now. And this Monday morning, I pray for Kate Cox and the many other women who will inevitably be in the same situation. I'm also praying that we all step up. You may be a Republican. You may have voted for Trump thinking this all isn't so bad. It's worse. Wake up and consider voting with Kate in mind in the next presidential election. The choices may not be perfect. They may be far from perfect. I get that. What we're trying to save, though, is the ability to have choices and options in this country and to make those choices in a country that is a democracy.
No woman has the right, or rather, no man has the right to tell a woman what to do with her body. If you want to do that, try carrying a kid yourself. Okay? This is something that belongs in a woman's domain. Punto y final. In a woman's domain. I will not presume to impose that on women. And what these troglodytes are doing to this 31-year-old woman, putting her life in danger, putting her fallopian tubes and her uterus in danger, is It is unforgivable. And what I hope is somebody tries to control their testicles and their prostates, just like they want to control a woman's ovaries and uterus. I sure hope that, well, anyway, you get what I'm saying. Now, and by the way, Breach, nope, the 7th was the Travis County Court. That was a lower court. Paxton took it to the Supreme Court and he got a pause. And he was debating it in the Supreme Court yesterday. I don't think the Supreme Court made a decision, but Kate is in dire straits right now. So she left the state to go have the abortion outside. I don't know if the Supreme Court is going to continue with the case or not. I hope so. I hope they come to a resolution. But the idea is this, like I spoke about this on my show earlier this morning on KPFT. Kate has mobility. Kate can leave the state and have an abortion. For the millions of poor women in Appalachia, for the millions of poor women in the ghettos and the barrios and all these different areas of our society who do not have mobility, They are stuck with whatever sentence they have imposed on them by the state of Texas. That's the evil within. Why you can have the elitists who, if Paxton's daughter gets pregnant, he can ship her off to Mexico or he'll probably ship her off to some other country in secret, because we know that these right wingers, they do have their abortions. They just don't tell anybody about it. Remember the chairman of the Republican Party in Florida, who is anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ, anti all of this stuff. Turns out his wife and himself are bisexual because they bring a third party in to have sex with them, yet they think that they can control other people, what other people can read and what their morality is supposed to be. Look, I'm not judging their threesome at all. I hope they have fun with their threesome. But then who the hell are them to tell the other people what books they can read? Who are they to be able to tell others how to live their life or whether to accept LGBTQ or not? The hypocrisy, if it were just a hypocrisy from within, it would be, who the hell cares? But when their hypocrisy start to have a material effect on the lives of others, that is a problem. That is, in fact, a problem. So, folks, it's good enough. It's great that our sister Kate had mobility that she could go to another state and have an abortion. Sadly, the mobility of many will prevent that from happening. Now to you, Mike Cisak. When I said I do understand how the grid works, your presumption is as follows. You don't know that the grid has to maintain a certain frequency while under load. If you throw on high value variable production, solar, wind, then you crash the grid when it drops or overproduces. Who gave you the thought process that myself, a mechanical engineer, who went to the top public university in Texas, doesn't understand the grid, and Mr. Cisak, a guy who is doing, and I'm not knocking you, I'm saying stay in your darn lane. However, you are a farmer. I don't know anything about cows. I don't know anything about planting grass, etc. I only know what I read. Stay in your lane. I'm an engineer. Of course, I understand how the grids works. Of course, I understand the frequency. Of course, I understand the tripoline within that. Of course, I understand the phasing. Do you? If you are, and all of those things that I just mentioned have very little to do with having a middle person who is just there to sell electricity. They have nothing to do with phase control. Nothing. The people who run all those middlemen industries, they have nothing to do with production. Stay in your lane. Madre mia carajo. All right. So let's be clear here. You don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Cisak. You know, too many of you, and I'm talking about you on the right, like to go and make assumptions. I didn't buy my mechanical engineering degree, sir. Not that I'm not doing it now. I have the flexibility. But you, sir, stay in your lane before you try to knock anybody and make assumptions about anybody. Está bien. Stay in your damn lane. All right, let's continue. Para ver. Coming down, E2247 says the squad, AOC, and the hope of a political revolution. I had Ryan Grimm on the show last week where he spoke about his book. I hope you guys saw that. Let's see. Bree says, Egberto, oh, okay. Yeah, posted MSNBC link that left the state. Yes, ma'am. Here, Egberto, Patrick Baron. Bruce Pollard is in the house. He says, let's get everyone to vote. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Patrick Moran says, Moms for Liberty are done. They're hypocrites. Yeah, they should be done. Absolutely so. Bridge MCP says, Egberto, it is so obvious how men think. They invented the cup before the helmet, always protecting the... They seem to think they have a say in women's protection. I don't. I stay in my lane, beautiful Bridge. I learn what women... Listen, and look, the funny thing about it is I wasn't always like this, right? I came over the chauvinist, homophobic idiot from Panama when I came here. that's who I was, but I learned. And I was honest enough. I was humble enough to learn. Not because I wanted a pat on my back, but because I was a plumb buffoon in the thoughts that I had because of how I was reared. Men all over this damn Western world, actually, not only the Western world, all over the world, have been reared complete buffoons. Okay? Thank you, Patrick Baran. You're correct. I evolved. Yvette Avery says, I don't know we had a doctor in the house. What gives you the right to speak on this and not be a woman? He has no right whatsoever, Yvette. It's just another man trying to tell a woman that I will control your body. Nothing more, nothing less, Yvette. We men need to stay in our damn lanes. That's your lane. It's Bridget's lane. It's Yvette's lane. It's Melanie's lane. It's which other woman we have in the house? And so let me just go ahead. It's Melissa Bowie's lane. Which other woman in the house? Let me find women in the house. If I missed you, but you understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying. But anyhow, we're coming close to the end of the show. Anybody want to call in and say a word? 281-823-7747. Whoa. I want to read June Littler. Thank you. Amen. I want to read Mike Cisak. I want to show you what projection looks like. This is the epitome of projection. Whoa! I didn't know we had so many ignorant people on basic human biology here. It's obvious human biology 101. When even scientific website says life begins at conception, yet we have people here who think somehow the act of birth bestows personhood on people. Let me tell you, first of all, why a statement like that. And I respectfully, Mike Cisak, respectfully, that's an asinine statement. Personhood is determined legally. Okay? Personhood is a legal definition. All right? That's the first thing that's completely silly in your statement. Personhood is a legal definition. And we define what a person is. In fact, it is such a legal definition that even a corporation has personhood. Again, why I tell you so often to stay in your lane? Because often, as opposed to come in here with humility, this is my program. And I am humilde. I am humble in learning from my audience, which I do all of the times. But some of you come here thinking in a right-wing manner, thinking you know. There's a good thing to humility. There's a good thing to humility. Okay? There is a good thing to humility. Cuando estás humilde, when you're humble, you have the ability to make a mistake and not have to feel dethroned about it. So when Yvette Avery Herod or Miss Bowie or Bridge or June Littler correct me on something, I can come out and say, okay, I'll try my best to not let my inner demons misinform me again that I can't do certain things a certain way. June Littler says, my amen was sent before CSEC's personal opinion, not fact, appeared. Okay, I hear you. Let's see what else we got here. Bridge MCP says, you want other people to make a law on men can have sex? Of course not. They don't, right? I mean, you think about it. There's nothing. Men don't want anything. Look, what is so sad is while they wanted to take away birth control, they never talked about taking away Viagra. We have to stop this. We have to stop this patriarchal BS. The patriarchal BS must end. The patriarchal BS must end. Okay? Anyway, it's 4:00. I got to ask all of you, those of you who have the wherewithal, please support our program. I'd like all of you who can to please help us build this newsletter. I got another member, I think yesterday. I haven't sent out a thank you notes on that yet, but please join our newsletter. The newsletter, you can actually, look, less than a coffee. I told my daughter, it costs, I have to tell people it's just a coffee a month. She said, Daddy, a coffee doesn't cost $4.99 in Starbucks. You're going to pay more for that, Daddy. So please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And when you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter, you get access to all of my 5 books and any subsequent book that I write. Okay? Any subsequent book that I write, you have access to as a subscriber to my newsletter. So it's a sort of an exchange, but it gives us a little bit of input for us to be able to continue doing this. So go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. The newsletter is free, but if you become a subscriber, you get other benefits with being a subscriber. So I ask you so kindly to become a subscriber of our newsletter by going to politicsandright.com/newsletter. It's very inexpensive to do so. If there's some other way that you want to support the program, please go to politicsandright.com/support. It has all the ways in which you can support Politics Done Right. We do our homework, we do our work, and it's not only the show that we do, but we write articles and we populate the internet with progressive information so that when people do searches, they don't only see right-wing stuff. We have to push the truth so that the truth can overpower the lies. And that's what we are a part of. There are many of us that are doing this kind of work. This kind of work is not paid for by the wealthy like the right wing has. We have to pay for it. We take it at very small rates to do it. So please go to politicsandright.com/support to support us however you can. But also, please consider becoming a paid member of our newsletter by going to politicsandright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willis. I want to thank all of you for showing up today. I want to thank all of you for participating. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.